Hey guys, Drifter here. We're just playing some Domination on Raid today. I'm using my PDW with a silencer, not because I want to be a tryhard, but because I just prestiged and this is really the only decent SMG that I have unlocked. The gameplay that you're going to see is going to be somewhat less than MLG. I'm going to die a lot, especially this first round. I'm going to get trashed, but then my team is going to come back and we're going to have some really good gameplay in the second round. This was the perfect gameplay to talk about hope, which is the subject of the commentary today, and this was a personal one for me because I very recently experienced a loss of hope and then a return of hope. And I'd like to start this commentary out with a story. As you all know, I'm having some very bad memory problems and reading problems and some other things, so I went and got a CT scan, and I was kind of afraid that I might have had a tumor or a brain abnormality or something like that. So, as bad as it is to say, I was kind of getting myself worked up. Okay, I'm going to have to accept that bad things are coming. I might be terminal, I might need chemotherapy, I might need a surgery, maybe I have a blood clot, this is life-threatening, this is dangerous. And I was getting ready to deal with that, but the CT scan technician gave me a diagnosis that was somewhat different. A condition which I punched into Google, and Google told me that I was on the fast track to blindness, that sometime over the next 5 to 15 to 20 years that I would lose the majority of my vision and be legally blind. This was not something that I was prepared for. That was a very hard pill to swallow. I was ready to die, I was ready to undergo painful things, but not to go blind. Blindness is something that's very scary to me, because my grandfather went blind, and he was never a particularly jolly fellow, but once he went blind, he just kind of output all of his hatred into others and became the least popular person in my family, and as petty and as sad as it is to admit that I hated the fellow a lot more than I ever loved him, same for his son and his wife and all this other sort of stuff, because he just sat there in the house on that couch not able to do anything, moaning about his blindness constantly, hating himself and hating others because he couldn't do all the things that he used to do on his own, and is now dependent on the people that he despises and thinks of being lesser than himself to do anything, and they weren't particularly cooperative anyway. And I realized that I was married and that I would be going blind, and that there's a very good chance that since I couldn't do the things that I wanted to do myself, that I might become bitter and angry and old and sit on the couch all day and listen to the TV and not watch it because I'm blind, and that I would eventually become the thing that I hate most and turn my wife into my grandmother, who I pitied most. And that was something that struck a great chord of fear into me, something that I couldn't quite swallow. I was beginning to lose my hope and lose my mind at the same time. I had to go to the ophthalmologist to get a closer examination of exactly what was going on. And I was under the understanding that I was going in there not to get a diagnosis or a prognosis, but simply to pick up a timetable for my blindness. In the waiting room, I was getting twitchy, getting a little nervous, but I'm going to keep my composure, keep smiles, haha, talk to everybody, be nice, be friendly, enjoy your eyes, make people happy while you can, that sort of thing. Got examined a dozen different times in a dozen different ways, and I hope to God they didn't smell my breath, because if they did, they would have smelled the vomit that I'd choked back earlier, because I just literally could not stomach this. I had almost thrown up in my mouth, but forced myself to swallow it down because I'm not a weakling that gets upset and cries and vomits about things like this. Lo and behold, at the end of the day, after a lot of different tests, they came back with the problem being exceptionally mild. It's a rare problem, but I had a mild version of a rare problem, and the diagnosis that Dr. Google gave me was completely wrong, and that there are very likely going to be no symptoms, no side effects, no nothing, and that I'm completely good to go, which was a major relief to me. And I say that now, and I don't think that my personal disposition had anything to do with it, but all the time I spent in the waiting room, which was very, very boring, waiting for tests to come back, when I had completely lost my hope and my faith and everything was downtrodden, I yet found it again, because as some of you know, many machinima directors are renegotiating their contracts with machinima, and I'm kind of in the same boat, and I'm leaning a little bit toward leaving because it's difficult to even talk to anybody at the company anymore, and that frustrates me when I can't even communicate. And there's a lot of different offers on the table, some risky, some solid, and I was sitting there thinking, well, you know what, if I have 5 to 10 years to go on my eyes, I'm going to take the riskiest offer that I can possibly do. I'm going to push myself over 9,000, and I'm going to build a giant pile of money to retire in, to build myself a cash fund for some home health care for my wife, for everything else. I'm changing my entire plans and putting everything on a 10-year timetable, and I don't give a fuck if I'm going blind or not. I'm going to do this. Again, that didn't change the diagnosis, but it was the outlook that was remarkably helpful. And by the time I got the diagnosis that I wasn't going to go blind, I was, not diagnosis, prognosis, I was feeling much, much better about it. And the same can be said of this gameplay. Last night I was playing this game and I was trying to get a good game for a commentary about hope and why it's important and all that kind of stuff. And every single game I was doing crappy. I convinced FaZe Cross and Falcon to play just one more game with me. Come on, we're just going to play one more game. And we get trashed in this first round. And then I realized, you know what would be the best kind of gameplay for a commentary about hope? A comeback gameplay. And there's tryhards on the other team, and they know that we're YouTubers, and they're going to dump on us if they can. And this next part of the gameplay is where the comeback starts, where I have hope that we're going to win, where I know that we're going to win. I've got one more story to talk to you before I move into a more philosophical section about this commentary. This is a section from Neil Gaiman's Sandman comic books, which if you haven't read, the Sandman comic books are on par with any novel ever written. Excellent comic books. This is in Collection 1, Preludes and Nocturnes. To kind of set it up for you, the Dream Lord, the Sandman, the King of Dreams, has to go to hell and challenge a demon to a battle of wits of sorts, the price on the line being his soul and eternal servitude. So it's a kind of an imagination battle. The demon opens up and says, "I am a dire wolf, prey-stalking, lethal prowler," to which the Dream Lord replies, "I am a hunter, horse-mounted, wolf-stabbing." And the clever demon has a retort as well, "I'm a horsefly, horse-stinging, hunter-throwing." Dream, not being a fool, as he is the master of the imagination, "I am the spider, fly-consuming, eight-legged." The demon, not exactly unwise, but getting flustered, "I am the snake, poison-toothed, spider-devouring." To which Dream replies, "I am the ox, snake-crushing, heavy-footed." The demon, quite far from ignorant about animals on the land, "I am anthrax, butcher-bacteria, warm life-destroying." Dream decides to up his game a little bit. "I am a world, space-floating, life-nurturing." "I am a nova, exploding, life-destroying, planet-eliminating." To which Dream replies, "I am the universe, all things encompassing, life-embracing." And the demon, thinking that he is one, says, "I am the anti-life, the beast of judgment. I am the dark at the end of everything, the end of universes, gods and worlds of everything. I am the anti of all that is." To which the Dream Lord replies, "I am hope." And then the battle is lost. Because as long as you have hope, none of that matters. As long as you have hope, nothing is impossible. Everybody loses in this life. Everybody gets their asses beaten. Everybody gets downtrodden, run over. Every battle is lost. But the war is based on hope. Who keeps fighting? Who keeps pushing? If you think about it, all the stories that men, and to a lesser degree, I shouldn't say lesser degree, just there's proportionally less stories written by women than there are for men because women are just now getting into the academia fields. That sounded really wrong. I say all the stories of men in a general sense that they have ever written is about hope. It's about a band of heroes on a long shot journey against impossible odds where everybody else would have quit, would have gone home, would have realized that this battle is beyond all hope, yet they continue, they keep fighting, they keep pushing for that 1% chance, that improbability, that whatever is left, and eventually their hope pays off. The reality is that this is not always true. Sometimes you have hope or false hope that something great's going to happen and it doesn't. But even if it doesn't, even if what you hope is going to happen, even if your last-ditch effort doesn't work, you have a plan B. You hope that your next plan is going to work. You hope that your next set of actions is best. You put your faith in God or whatever deity it is that you believe or don't believe in. And if you don't believe in, then you're putting your hope in yourself and your abilities and your actions and the wisdom of all the men that came before you to find a plan to achieve what you want. And that's what I want to get across in this commentary. If you haven't noticed, we are very slowly making a comeback. We're losing, but we are going to come back and win this gameplay. I've been swapping my classes like crazy. I've been kind of going around trying to do what I can do to win. And I know that my gameplay isn't very good here. I know that it's not quite MLG. It's not the best thing in the world. But the people that we're playing are not bad people. They are relatively talented individuals that joined in through YouTube. Not joined in through YouTube. They joined in through an open lobby and they were stalking us all night because they realized that there are a number of YouTubers in the room and they want to show up as hard as they can. And this is the worst kind of enemy. This is actually worse than pros because when you play pros are going to play try hard. But they play try hard with the pro equipment, which is usually not the cheap stuff. These guys, these YouTube anti-pub stomper types, they'll do anything, and they are very nasty little creatures to deal with, like wolverines all over the place, chewing on things, gonna mess you up. And even though we're losing here, see what I'm talking about, hope, we just managed to cross that time, and we have now made a comeback. Very astounding, and right here in the last minute of the game, all we have to do is hold, and they keep pushing, and all we have to do is hold, and we're going to win. And that's, at the end of the day, that's what I want you to learn from this commentary, is that you should never give up your hope. the only time you ever really lose, the only time that you're ever completely down and out and that there's no point in continuing is when you've lost your hope. As long as you've got hope, as long as you've got a chance, a plan, a desire, a will to push, you have to keep it. You have to keep pushing and keep doing what it is that you're doing, because it just might pay off. It might not pay off, but if you don't do anything, then it sure as hell ain't going to pay off. So I hope that whatever is troubling you in this life, hope whatever that you think that you can't do, whatever illness you face, I hope that at the end of this day, at the end of this commentary, that you come back with a new, better, stronger, tougher attitude and push forward toward hope, because that's all you've got. That's all anybody's got. When you're hopeless, you're lost for good. You have to find your hope again. But you can swap between hopeless and full of hope anytime. Nobody can take that away from you. This one's all depending on you, so everything's all in your hands. I hope you enjoyed the gameplay and the commentary and all that sort of stuff. I've never been prouder of my 25 and 24 gameplay or such a close victory on a map with a bunch of YouTubers on my team. But it was fun, it was good gameplay, and I hope you enjoyed everything. Drifter out.